Welcome to Hormones and Behavior, spring class of 2025. Happy New Year. My name is Eric Olson, and I'm going to be your professor for the term. I earned my PhD in neuroscience, so I really approach the subject from the perspective of neuroscience and neuroendocrinology. But I earned my PhD at Wake Forest University School of Medicine approximately 15 years ago. I've primarily studied the role of dopamine signaling, which is also very much related to hormones. In fact, can be a hormone. But I've primarily studied this in the context of drug addiction and reward-directed behavior, but also fear and avoidance. I've been teaching this class, hormones, for several years. I actually think this is my favorite class currently, in part because the field of hormones is so new. Not that neuroscience is so old, but hormones, we are really just starting to understand how specific hormones are related to behavior. Our tools of corresponding or correlating behavior to hormone levels are still not very advanced. And that's something we'll get into really in our very first lecture. But I find this topic to be absolutely fascinating, and I hope you do as well. I know that I have adapted my style, my teaching style, over the last several years. I've transitioned from being more of a lecture-based sage on the stage, where I lecture to you the entire class time, and have switched from being sort of more this lecture-based teacher, sage on the stage, to more using more of a learner-centric style. I've tried to make my lecture component be about 33% or one third of the class and involve the rest of the class being centered around you as learners and using various learning activities so you can consider hormones and behavior from a variety of perspectives and also from a variety of voices, not just my own. We'll hear a good bit from Robert Sapolsky, who is a star neuroendocrinologist, whose real pure emphasis is on hormones and behavior. In addition, we will hear from multiple other speakers as well, particularly when we get into the topic of the neuroendocrinology of gender. In addition to teaching about sort of the core knowledge and core information associated with neuroendocrinology, what is the endocrine system, how do hormones affect behavior, I think that it is really almost more important to think about hormones, at a bigger picture, applied level. So, in addition to learning what the endocrine system is, almost two-thirds of your grade will be devoted to deep and critical thinking and creating your own ideas associated with hormones and behavior. This is also part of my transition from being pure lecture and test based to focusing more on small stakes, learner centric activities that I think not only give you a better education, but I also believe are more inclusive and equitable and give you the opportunity to be part of the process and also think about the material from multiple sources rather than my own viewpoint. So for example, every week we will not only be listening to my lecture, but also be considering some material from most commonly Robert Sapolsky, but also a few other points of view, which will also make for a large portion of your grade. I also will emphasize some other forms of skill-based learning, for example, critical thinking in general. I also will have you harness AI a little bit to explore one topic in particular that we'll get into. Here, the idea is not only to learn how to use AI to help you do the research more effectively and efficiently, but also just to learn how to use this powerful new tool that I think really you need to embrace and learn how to use well to be competitive at the next level as you move on into a competitive workforce where really all of your coworkers or competitors will be using AI effectively and efficiently. So the question is, can you? So I would like you to be able to use this and then also learn how to write in a variety of different styles. For example, one thing we'll have to prepare, or you'll have to prepare, is a policy memo. You also have to prepare a book review, sort of some unique forms of writing other than just the typical college essay that you've probably already gained some experience in writing. So now I'm going to share my screen with you and briefly go over the course itself and the syllabus. So let's start here in the course shell. Here's what you can see when you log in. I just updated the syllabus. Know that I previously last week posted a Word document here. This updated syllabus contains identical information. Nothing changed, only the format. Over the weekend I converted this. It actually took a little bit of time, but I converted everything to a Google document that I think will function a lot better on your smartphone or tablet rather than the more clunky Word document. But there you can access the course syllabus. And then most of the class will be run through this module section. First, at the top here, you can see some key components to the class, the virtual office, which is one way that you can always ask me questions. You can also email me and expect a response within 48 hours. If you have not, feel free to follow up with an angry email as to why I haven't responded to you. 48 hours should be the longest possible expectation. If that has not happened, you deserve to give me that angry email. You can also request a Zoom meeting at any time to discuss any assignment, course content, your future, anything related to hormones or neuroendocrinology in general. I'm happy to discuss and am always here for on-demand Zoom meetings. Just feel free to ask. If you are using an old edition of the Nelson chapter textbook that is required for this class, you can find one here. I also have the most updated chapter, which is, I believe, chapter 3, that gets into sort of the neuroendocrinology of gender and sex. This, being such a rapidly evolving topic, I wanted to at least be able to give you that one most recent chapter, which I will upload shortly here for you and make sure you can have access to that. The just most recent textbook is also much more expensive, so I wanted to spare you from that. But that one chapter, I think, is very important to have the most up-to-date version of, so that I will give you chapter version 6 of that most updated chapter on sex and gender. But every week will look like one fixed module like this, where you can click on week 1 and see sort of the summary of what you have to do. So I'll bring you in here. For example, in week 1, you need to read the first 16 chapters of the textbook from Nelson and review my lecture and complete the quiz. Also important to review the syllabus, especially for week 1, and introduce yourself to the discussion board. Just generally, every other week after this, you will be thinking critically about some sort of additional material, most likely chapters from a Sapolsky book that will be used as additional complementary text to think about, but not always. One week, for example, we will consider what is the pill and how that affects behavior and go into that much more deeply. We'll spend a couple of weeks considering the neurobiology and neuroendocrinology of gender from multiple perspectives. And we'll also spend 2 weeks considering how hormones might influence athletic performance and how we should approach this from the context of equity and fairness and how what policies you propose. And I will point out very clearly there is no right or wrong answer here. I'm not looking for, and I'll get back into this again for the syllabus, but I just cannot emphasize enough that really for any of these discussions, I'm not looking for a right or wrong opinion. What I am looking for is your deep and critical thoughts. I don't expect everybody to agree on a lot of these issues, and that is perfectly fine as well. For your ultimate policy memo that you will create on the fair and equitable participation in sports from a neuroendocrine perspective, that viewpoint can be as you wish. You know, there is no right or wrong answer. For the quiz, every module, I have created a study guide here that to guide your studying. 100% of the quiz questions in the quiz will be based off of this study guide. So if you want to do well on the closed note quiz, my number one recommendation is to complete the study guide as you view my lecture and read the book. If you do that, you should find the quiz to be relatively easy. So that is what one common module would look like. So in every one, you would read the material from the textbook, review my essay, complete the study guide, read the supplemental or view the supplemental critical thinking material, create your critical thinking post, respond to a couple of peers. You do all those things, you've completed your weekly learning objectives for that particular module. Now I'm going to bring you through the syllabus quickly. Again, this is an asynchronous online class, meaning that we'll never have to be in the same room at the same period of time. This will be based off about 1/3 of the material, or is going to be based off of lecture material from me. In addition, you will also be learning about hormones and behavior from other sources as well. One large voice in this classroom will be that of Dr. Sapolsky, an expert neuroendocrinologist from Stanford University. We will be reading one of his books in particular, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. That will most be our most common uh, resource for the critical thinking paragraphs that you have to prepare each week, but not the exclusive one. Some of the other voices that we will hear from are Carissa Sanbonmatsu, who is a scientist at Los Alamos. You know, really the one of the most famous labs in the country. This is, you know, if you think that Sapolsky at Stanford's smart, Carissa is, I would say, at a much more important scientific lab. This is where they developed the nuclear bomb. It is where all of our continuing nuclear research is conducted, or the most prominent lab where research environment. These are incredibly brilliant scientists. Carissa is going to share some of her perspectives on the neurobiology of gender, particularly from an epigenetics perspective. We'll also hear Robert Sapolsky's thoughts on this, in addition to Carol Hooven, who will be uh, talking about her book Testosterone, and that will be moderated by Daniel Gilbert, who is one of the star alums of our department. He actually earned his undergraduate degree in psychology at the Auraria campus before becoming a professor at Harvard. We will also hear from Franz de Waal, who is a primatologist, and he is going to share from a summary of his book, Different Gender Through the Eyes of a Primatologist. So these are very unique opinions and perspectives, different viewpoints on the neurobiology and neuroendocrinology of gender. And I will point out that some of these, are uh, could be challenging viewpoints or perspectives. So if you ever want to speak to me about any of these, feel free to schedule a Zoom meeting with me. You most certainly don't have to agree with any of these speakers. In fact, I think it's fair to say that these speakers oftentimes would disagree with each other. I think they would all agree with each other on certain things as well. This is, I think, on purpose, by design, that we have, some competing viewpoints here to consider. Um, we will have a fantastic TA in this class, Aubrey. Aubrey is going to be especially playing a big role in monitoring the Sapolsky book in hormones, why zebras don't get ulcers, and monitoring and facilitating some of the course discussions associated with that. But Aubrey is also there. If you, for whatever reason, don't feel comfortable approaching me about some issue with the class first, you can also, feel free to email Aubrey about it. The Nelson textbook is required in this class. This is a little unique from my other classes. I do think that it is, important to have for some of my lectures, which are, I think still heavily based off of this textbook in particular. So I felt a little odd not assigning the actual textbook that my lectures are largely based off of. Um, uh, in addition, we will be reading Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Here you may find a complete book to it, a copy of it that I've posted in a cloud. You may start reading while you find a way of accessing the book on your own. Overall, in this class, you will have one drop for each quiz and one drop of a critical thinking paragraph. This is meant to accommodate life, or you have a bad week and have a bad quiz. It can also be used to even avoid a certain topic or deal with a competing life event. There are many ways that you can approach this drop strategy. Pick whatever works best for you. I will also give you one unpenalized opportunity for a makeup assignment if you contact me within 48 hours. But know that I am very committed to accessibility and the general concept of universal design. I am very accommodating with life events and realize I've had so many different students in a variety of issues here. I've had students get deployed mid-semester. I've had students have family emergencies, children of students be injured or have to go to the hospital. Really just about everything that you could imagine. So I tend not to ask questions and believe you. If you tell me that you need an accommodation or an alternative path forward, I will help you. So don't hesitate to approach me if life gets in the way. However, I do think it's very important to stay to this on this consistent schedule. There is a lot required in this class. Moving away from pure lecture and quizzes, I think actually creates a lot of opportunity for a variety of learning activities. And these are not just mere busy work. This requires a lot to participate in all of these different learning activities. I think it provides an overall more enriching learning experience. You're really going to think about hormones and behavior from a variety of different perspectives, including big picture applications and concepts. But you really need to stay on top of it and participate fully each week and get into this sort of groove. And then I think things will seem very manageable once you do so. Every week, you will have this quiz at the end that will be based very tightly on that study guide that's posted in each week overview. So, every week you should view my lecture, my recording, read the book chapter, and fill out that study guide. Once you do that, you're ready to take the quiz and do well on it. Every week, you have this weekly deep thinking paragraph that you have to develop. Most week, it's going to be based off of why zebras don't get ulcers. Your paragraph should consist of a 200 to 300 word summary of your general thoughts on the material. There will be a prompt available for you. I'm pretty liberal and open-minded regarding these prompts. If we don't prompt you to discuss what you find most fascinating in that chapter or from that material, feel free to take the liberty to go off script a little bit. I really care about you thinking deeply and critically about the material rather than looking for a specific opinion or even you responding to a specific prompt. I do want you to comment on at least two of your peers' deep thinking paragraphs. Otherwise, we will be deducting points from your critical thinking grade. There will be two writing assignments in this class. One is a book review. I would like you to follow these instructions to provide a book review of Sapolsky's book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Most importantly, I want to know what you think about it. And do you think this is are you tired of this book? Are you fed up with it? Do you have a better recommendation of a learning material that might help us the next class think deeply and critically about hormones? What book would do a better job? You will also develop an AI generated podcast. You will do this in preparation of your second writing assignment, which will be a policy memo regarding the neuroendocrinology and fair athletic competition. I should say competition, not completion. But anyway, the AI generated podcast is a very useful and powerful tool I use a lot in my own research, and I think will help you develop a skill that you can use and take away to compete at a higher level, in your future. Um, Not only, really, you can, once you use it, I think you'll see how broadly this can be applied and how powerful this tool is. But basically, you will find a article related to neuroendocrinology and athletic performance and upload a PDF version of that into Google Notebook and follow my instructions, and you will see it develops a 10-minute or so, 10 to 15-minute podcast that you can then listen to and use the podcast to help you do research on this very important topic. So to do that, you follow the instructions. Here's one of the articles, integrating trans women and female athletes with differences of sex development into elite competition that I've, uploaded into Google Notebook, followed these instructions, and then created the podcast. Uh, in addition to creating the podcast, I would like you to both upload in to an assignment that I have loaded in created in Canvas, and also into a relevant discussion forum, the last discussion forum of our 15 modules. With the following information: a 1 to 2 sentence take-home message of the podcast, a 1 to 3 sentence reflection on whether you think using AI in this manager helped you research the topic, whether it's a useful skill, basically. A 1 to 3 sentence reflection that really summarizes the podcast in the context of the other articles that I've already assigned on this topic, and then a short paragraph, really about how does this contradict the other articles that you've read? Does it complement them? How does this add to our big picture discussion, and possibly how it has impacted the policy memo that you are developing? Finally, you will have to comment on two of your peers' AI generated podcasts to earn full credit for this assignment. You will finally complete a policy memo. Your policy memo will be written for the International Olympic Committee. I would like you to consider some assigned articles that I gave you, in addition to the articles that you found yourself through your own independent research and the podcasts you created in doing your research. And I would like you to use that to form this policy memo where you make recommendations on how to move forward on this, timely, relevant, and sensitive topic that our society is grappling over. And I would say there is not one clear, opinion here. Variety. I've seen a variety of opinions. There are many ways that you can approach this. I've seen, variety of ways of reclassifying participants. There are different ways that you could approach testosterone monitoring. Uh, there are so many different approaches that you can take to this, and I'm not here to tell you what the right one is or police your thought. I want to hear your deep and critical thoughts after reviewing the literature on this topic. What do you think, and what do you think we should do as a society moving forward? How should the Olympics handle this topic? Here is how your grade will be determined. Quizzes will be worth a little over a third of your grade. Again, all of the quizzes are going to be very directly related to those that study guide, which are going to be based off of my recordings and the textbook. About a third will be off of the deep thinking paragraphs, which will be mainly based off of the Sapolsky chapters, but not always. We are going to again consider the pill, the neuroendocrinology of gender identity and athletic performance in detail. Your 6% of your grade will come from the AI generated podcast. And then, 12% of your grade will come from the book review, and 12% of your grade will come from the policy memo. Again, I will like to be very clear that the policy memo and deep thinking paragraphs, these are not there. I'm not there. I'm not hunting for what one right answer. Don't try to tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what you are thinking, but do so in a civil and respectful manner. Recognize that there are most certainly transgender people in this classroom. There are people that have very strong opinions on a variety of these subjects in this classroom. You should it's fine to disagree, but it's okay to do, but it is required, necessary to do so in a respectful and civil manner. For that purpose, I have developed some discussion norms that I would like you to follow. In addition, if you feel that I or any of your peers are discriminating against you in any way, I suggest that you contact the Office of Equity. Their contact information is here. My intention is to establish guidelines that allow us to explore different perspectives on very sensitive topics in this class. I consider this to create a higher level of learning that is very necessary in higher education, especially in upper division class like this one. It shouldn't be you listening to what I think about the neuroendocrinology of gender identity, for example. It should be, what do you think about the neuroendocrinology of gender identity after hearing my lecture, Sapolsky, and three other resources, in addition to whatever else you want to bring in, from lived experiences to information from other classes. I mean, this is a neuroendocrinology class. I clearly there are classes on like the sociology of gender that you might want to bring in. Maybe there's a philosophy class you want to bring in. All of that's fine too. So I want to know what you think rather than what you think I want to think. But in general, when you do encounter viewpoints that you don't agree with, I would like you to challenge the ideas that you disagree with through reason and debate rather than avoidance or suppression. Challenge the idea, don't attack the person. Lean into difficult conversations and be willing to consider diverse perspectives. Acknowledge that we come from different backgrounds and bring unique perspectives. In my 4054 class right now in behavioral neuroscience, we're even debating whether or not there is even such a thing as free will or free thought. Do our perspectives on gender, for example, are those greatly influenced from, for example, our ethnic and social background? Most certainly they are, in addition to some neuroendocrine and biological variables. So, we have to keep all of that in mind. I would also not like us to make assumptions about other students' identities or attack other students outside of class. We also don't want to post things that people say in surveys on Reddit or Instagram or try to attack people through social media. Please do not do that. In general, acknowledge when you agree with your critics and what you've learned from them. And I will also point out when describing sexual and gender minority populations, I highly recommend that you review the NIH Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion LGBTI Safe Zone terminology, which you can find through this link. Generally, as a content warning, this is a top class where we are going to address multiple sensitive issues. Athletic participation from an equity and neuroendocrine perspective, and gender identity are clearly sensitive topics that are going to impact multiple people in this class. In addition, we will be talking about mental health issues, psychiatric disorders, mental hospitals, socioeconomic status, sex, death, and even some cases of suicide, which can intersect, unfortunately, with some aspects of this, like for example, ignored, um uh, uh, someone ignoring or trying to harm or making someone feel unwelcome for their gender identity. So the decision to include such material is not taken lightly, but I think it's critical to discuss these topics in a college level class, particularly this one. But do be mindful again that these topics affect members of our class and they will affect your future colleagues as well. I think it's very important to learn how to consider and address these topics in a multicultural and multi-ethnic and multi-gendered society. Um, do know, however, that if you ever feel that you need to excuse yourself from part of or all of a discussion due to trauma related to a particular topic, just do so. Don't even hesitate. Let me know, and I'll find an equity-minded solution to move forward so you can earn full credit for whatever that discussion is that you had to miss. We'll work something out, Let me know. I've had this come up from multiple perspectives, from multiple sides of the aisle, where people don't feel comfortable for a variety of reasons about participating or continuing to participate on a given topic. Let me know, and we will find a solution, an equity-minded one. Here's the course schedule. Follow this, get into this routine, and you'll find all of this to be much more manageable. There is a lot to do each week. I acknowledge that, but I know that you can do it. This isn't my first time offering this class. I know that you will do so, and your understanding of hormones will be much richer to do so through this multiple learning approach rather than just listening to me lecture and taking a quiz. Follow this guideline, this schedule of events. Usually, the critical thinking will come from specific chapters in the Sapolsky book that you can find here in the right column. The only exceptions will be, our pill discussion and how that affects the behavior. Two discussions on fairness and neuroendocrinology and athletic participation. The first will be on assigned articles that I give. The second, which will be the last module, will be based off of your podcast that you post in there in your own research on that same topic. And then we will have two different discussions on from unique perspectives on the neuroendocrinology of gender uh, from other speakers. Whereas Carissa and Robert, or Dr. Sand Benmatsu and Dr. Sapolsky, will be very much integrated into the lecture because I feel that their viewpoints correspond much more to lecture content, whereas Doctors Hooven and Doctors DeWall are fascinating perspectives, but a little outside of my lecture comfort zone, but still unique perspectives that I think will evoke some critical thought. Again, you may disagree or agree as much as you choose freely with these unique perspectives. They're there to evoke critical thought and deep thought, not to convince you that they are right or wrong. That is all that I have for you today. Please feel free to contact me at any time if you have questions about the content, the class itself, if you need additional accommodation, if you want to just discuss hormones and behavior in general, your career, whatever it is you want to talk about. Let me know, and I am here for you. Always happy to schedule a Zoom meeting or respond to answers by email or respond within the virtual office. However, you want to interact, I'm perfectly fine, and I'm here for you. I look forward to thinking deeply and critically about hormones with you. I think this will be a very engaging, thought provoking, and entertaining and informative class. Definitely it should be.